Howdy folks, welcome to the bar and current edition of the beer that was. It's March, so that means we're doing February. So grab myself a beer. While I'm pouring a beer, big shout out to Little John's patrons. As always, I thank them for the support. There's a link down the bottom for anybody who may be interested in becoming a Patreon. Check out what it's about. I'll be doing a draw shortly for a prize for one of those patrons, which happens every month. There's bonuses, because there is. If you're not into Patreon, it's not your thing, and you aren't subscribed, hit the subscribe button down there as well. That way you don't miss anything. And give me a thumbs up while you're at it. Thumbs up are good. That all that stuff keeps the channel going. But anyway, beers that were. There's a bit more commercial beer this month due to the fact that I was trying to save keg stocks for the family when they come up to have a weekend. So I got through a bit more commercial beer this month, more so than home brew. So there was quite a bit to choose from. And I've got to say, it's actually been an interesting month. There's not been a bad beer. Normally I come with one beer, I just go, well, yeah, no, that was just no good. But no, there's a couple that weren't fantastic. Well, yeah, but overall, the beer quality was fairly good. So, going to run through a couple of selections from the month. Now, I'm going to start off with the big, for me, what was my beer of the month. There's sort of two, but I'm going to start with this one, and quickly because this one you just can't really buy quite easily. It's Bloom Springs by Counterculture. It's 14th in their, whatever this, well, Counterculture, went with the 14th Counterculture beer. These are from Stone and Wood. They do these, I think, quarterly. I'm not exactly sure. This come to me from Mullows, who dropped it in, who is a member of the Stone and Wood Club. This was a New Age IPA, 6.4% alcohol. It's in the Big U Beauty half a litre can, so you get plenty of drinking of it, and this was really nice. And the reason I want to point this out, though, is not so much because of the beer, but because this was a Lupo Max. Also used Incognito and Spectrum, which is the new processes of extracting the alpha from the hops and leaving more of the nonsense behind, let's say, for want of a better description. But it gives you supposedly gives you a cleaner, smoother hop effect. And I'm using Lupamax hops in the XPA, which went on to keg just a couple of days ago. And I'll be tasting that fairly soon. That's going to be the first of the glass to grain videos that I'm going to be doing with the tasting and brew dates are all tied in together. So if you can find that one, get onto it. It's a good beer. You can, like I said, maybe you're not going to be able to find it. I'm going to say while I'm going here, and this is technically not a beer from February because I've only just cracked the first one. I've had this beer before last summer when they first dropped into BWS. Pirate Life's South Coast Pale Ale. I bought a bunch of cans from BWS for barbecue at the daughter's house in the swimming afternoon, and I really enjoyed that. And I've found it at the local Liquorland the other day. Grabbed a 4-pack, and it hasn't disappointed. Very easy drinking, nice, lightly fruity. Quite a good drop. Give it a crack if you're into XPAs and things like that. One Drop Hazy Pale Ale. I don't get a lot of one drop beers. Not available locally, so occasionally I drop some money on one. This was not an expensive one. This is one of their core range. Generally some of their beers are a bit pricey. A bit more money than I'm going to drop too readily. But again, that was a really nice drop. There was a bit of a hazy, pale IPA theme for the month. February, it's warm. there was a lot of these sort of beers, but that was a really solid beer. It's a good price point when you can put wherever you can get it from. Certainly worth having a crack at. I recommend. Another great one that's just landed in Liquorland. I've talked about Voodoo Ranger before. This is Voodoo Ranger from New Belgium Brewing. It's brewed under license by Lion. This is the Hazy India Pale Ale. It's only 5%, it's a bit lighter on the alcohol, but again, just a really nice, solid beer, good flavour, nothing over the top. It's, you know, it's actually probably wouldn't be a bad beer to introduce someone into something a little bit more challenging if you've got some friends that are maybe progressing into craft beer. That's not a bad one. Takes them into a world of India Pale Ale and the Hazies without getting, you know, too over the top. And I'm pretty happy that I can now get this one locally. Grabbed a 4-pack. I'll be grabbing another 4-pack of this fairly soon because that's a nice drop, well worth just getting into. If you can find the Pale Ale, which I wish they had the Pale Ale as well, get into it too. Very similar profile, just a little bit, probably a little bit lower on the alcohol, and not quite as hoppy, but two very good beers. Not too often you find a really good beer from a brewed under license type of arrangement, but that is certainly one of them. This fellow was a bit of a surprise. Let's take it as a bit of a surprise for the month. Bespoke Fixie brewed ginger beer. I've seen this one getting around for a little while. I've sort of keep erring on it. When I ordered my last pack, I sort of was trying to round out the pack and I went, bugger it, let's throw one in. 3.5%, so it's only easy drinking, but it's a nice, clean, real tasting ginger beer. It tastes like ginger beer. It's got the real flavour. There's some ginger kick in there. It's not as heavy as it could be, and in all honesty, this reminds me a hell of a lot of Kingsley's ginger beer. Probably the lighter version with the 1 kilo of sugar, not the 2 kilos of sugar. But certainly a lovely beer to have sitting in your fridge for those times when you want something cool and refreshing. You don't want a lot of alcohol, or just for people who don't like drinking beer, that's a really good option. Very nice. Another winner from Bespoke. This is a brew that I've revisited. And again, it was part of this packing, grabbing stuff. This is Kaiju, not sure exactly how you pronounce it, Metamorphosis IPA. Obviously these are the guys who did the Kaiju Crush. This is a West Coast, 6.7%. It's, yeah, it's a solid alcohol rating. Old school, you know, solid West Coast. Good bitterness, plenty of hop flavour. Lots of hops happening in the boil, not so much in the dry hop. Yeah, yum, good. It's been around for a while. It does predate really the Nipas and the hazy pales, so it does hark back a bit. But definitely, if you're into that sort of West Coast style, get into that. That's a bloody really good beer. Now, this fella. Hop Brewery Imperial Red Rye. This is part of the run of red IPAs and that sort of style I've been going through since sort of getting back from Christmas. Slowly getting throwing a few different brews. This sits at 9% alcohol, so it's quite higher on the alcohol for most red IPAs. They generally sit a little bit lower, but obviously it's an Imperial, and with the rye it's taken up another level. This was a tasty brew. It had plenty of character. It just let it down a little bit for me. It was just a little bit too boozy. The booze and the grog was too evident. There was just a little bit too much alcohol burn in it. Yeah, worth trying if you're into your red IPAs. If you're into that style, definitely give it a crack, because it's certainly got enough interest in there that it's worth having a crack at. I just wish that alcohol wasn't quite so noticeable. If it was tamped down a little bit, it'd be a cracker, it'd be a really good beer. It just stops it a little bit. By the same token, the 9% beer, it does stop you from drinking it too quick, because you probably could get a little carried away with it. Last beer that isn't Brewery of the Month. And this was the surprise beer of the month. Burley Mid-Tide. 3% alcohol, this fella. She's a lower alcohol, just as it's an ale. But I didn't expect too much from this, being the 3%. I thought, okay, no, it's not going to be bloody fantastic. But, and the blurb on the back sort of talks it up, and I'm okay, here we go. But it did exactly what it said it was going to do. It says on here, delicately hopped to produce subtle fruit characters and supreme sessionability. Burley Mid-Tide's flavour belies its alcohol content. All taste, no compromise. And I've got to say, that was a really tasty beer. At any alcohol level, that was a very, got a lot of flavour, very easy to drink, very enjoyable. Fantastic option, I think, if you're going to have a big sesh, if you want to drink all, if you're going to drink all afternoon and you want to stay bloody reasonably sensible, not a bad option. I don't generally drink too many beers that low, but I quite often make beers in that high 3% mark. So this might be a beer I might look at a little bit more and just see exactly what it is they're doing, how they're making that. Because I'd like to know where I can just get a bit of an idea where the flavours come from. But like I said, if you want to have something in your fridge for people who don't drink a lot, to like some flavour, or if you just do it for yourself, give it a whirl. It's definitely worth having a crack at. It's a good drop. So let's talk the brewery of the month, and that was Source Brewing Company from Marriageville down there in Sydney. And I bought a 6-pack via, I think it was from Craft Cartel, which was 2 of their core range and 4 special batch, their limited edition beers. During the month I found an extra core batch. This fella down at the local liquor lounge, ended up with 7. Overall, good beers, fairly solid, just with a couple of little pointers from my side. This one, Caribbean Fog, Hazy Pale Ale. Everyone sort of knows this beer. For me, it was a bit of a letdown. It was a little bit too sour around the edges. I didn't really enjoy it as a result. Plenty of people would. I'm not going to rag on it. It just wasn't a beer that I particularly liked from the profile. It was probably just one of the hops that they were using that was just not really doing it for me. The extra Hop Source Ipa, classic West Cape IPA, with a wondrous aroma of tropical fruit, and they were right, it was a really nice beer. 6.2%. This probably technically falls into a double IPA sort of category, because there is the Hop Source, which is a little bit lighter on, but that was a really nice drop, very good, again, West Coast IPA. I think I'd probably rate the Metamorphosis as a better beer, but pretty sure this one's going to come in at a slightly better price point, which makes it good value and certainly a good option for that sort of beer. Bubble and Squeak New England IPA. That was just a good beer. That's all I can say. A good beer. Nothing wrong with it. It's not outstanding, but it gives you everything you want. It's nice. It's got a sweet malt. It's got a good body, nice hop profile, fruity, juicy, all the things you expect from a New England IPA. And again, you're getting it at a reasonable price point. You're not paying through the nose like you do for some breweries. Into the special batches, the limited releases. This is the last one I've drank of the Mega Hop Double IPA. Now this is old school. This was, according to the blurb, this was the first beer that Source brewed commercially, which was followed not long after by the Hop Source. This one they now do use as a special batch, and it's been a while since they've actually brewed it. But this is old school double IPA. It's full of resin and it's just dank and hoppy and oily. It's a beer you don't find too much anymore. For me, it was a little bit too much resin. But still an enjoyable beer. You have to take your time on it. 8% alcohol, you weren't rushing it. But yeah, I would have preferred, it wasn't quite so resiny. But you can get your hand on it. If you like your hops and you like a big punchy big beer, give that a crack. I think it's definitely worth it. Because like I said, you don't find that kind of beer around very much, especially here in Australia. Still pick them up from overseas, and it is reminiscent. Got me thinking a little bit of the Pliny the Elder I've got on tap. It was seriously more resinous. Yeah. Celtic Rock Irish Stout. It's only 4.8%, so this isn't a standard pub sort of a stout. Dry stout, beautiful, lovely, full of style, fantastic. They're saying Irish stout, and for me that was a little bit of a bit misguided, because I was thinking I'm getting in along the lines of Guinness and stuff like that, and that wasn't what it delivered. But what it did deliver was a really tasty, well balanced, well made Irish dry stout. One of the best dry stouts I've had in a long time. Again, it's a limited release. If you can find it and you like your stouts, grab some. And again, decent price points. This was probably the biggest disappointment of the month. If it's going to go for disappointment where something just didn't really work, or closest to a beer that, okay, let's say it, this is the worst beer of the month. Chill Factor, Cold IPA. I haven't got my notes, but I did comment sort of that this was everything that was wrong about cold IPAs and style. Didn't really come across, didn't know what it was doing. It says on the can. We've got a lager malt base with a West Coast IPA dry hopping schedule, and they ferment with a lager yeast at lager temperatures. So it's a seriously hopped up lager, and didn't work. It just does not work. It was, I don't even know how to explain it, but there was no balance, there was nothing good about the beer, there was nothing that really, that worked. And problem a lot of breweries have with cold IPA. A lot of breweries aren't getting it right. They aren't working for, I don't know if there's a right, that's the problem. There isn't a right. There is no set way of doing how you do a cold IPA. People are doing it all different ways. Their way didn't work. Not on that batch anyway. And I've had the same issue with a few cold IPAs now. But anyway, I'm going to keep going. I've still got at least one cold IPA still there in the fridge. And I think I might have a crack at it myself with the... nah, that's down the track. Probably not in a big hurry. Last of the Source beers, last of the beers for the month. And I've kept this to last because if I had to say, like I said, this was beer of the month. I said that, sort of two. This was the other one. This is Stoutness. Mocha Imperial Stout with coffee and chocolate. I initially got this in my Beer Cartel advent calendar. I didn't drink it because it was like the third last beer of the pack, and I left the last 4 here when I went away at Christmas. So I got this in this mixed pack, and then I've got another one in the... I forgot I had it in the fridge. and I'm glad I've still got one left. 9% ABV, a bloody absolute cracking beer. This is one of the best stouts I've ever drunk. It had buckets of flavour. I don't know that the coffee and the chocolate were as pronounced as they possibly could have been, but as it was, I thoroughly enjoyed drinking that. Every mouthful was just highly enjoyable. If you can get your hands on that still somewhere, and I'm pretty sure you can, at the very least I'm pretty sure Craft Cartel still has stock of it, and I may be purchasing a few more of those for myself just for my stock, because yeah, that is bloody really good. As they say, do yourself a favour. If you're into your big stouts, get you some of that. Jimmy Denny, mate, if you haven't tried that, Big Jim, I know you like your big stouts, give that a crack, mate. That is very bloody good. So anyway, that's the beer that was for February. This is the beer that is, even though we rolled into the beer that was. March. Start of autumn, season of the falling leaf, with leading into winter. And this month's brewery is going to be Yuli's Brews from Botany, down there again in Sydney, down there in the crash zone at the airport. For want of a better description, obviously Botany, on the banks of Botany Bay, the landing. Well, around the landing place of our forefathers. But yeah, I've got 8 of their beers. If you're interested in Yuli's, if you've read about them, you heard about them, you've seen them online, whatnot, you haven't tried them, jump online, get to their website. For I think it was $79. I think, don't quote me, but somewhere around that. You get a 16 pack, which is 8 beers, 2 each, sent to you. Good value. Not bad at all, I reckon. I'm going to give them a shot this month, so we'll see how they go when we come back in April. But for now, that's me done. Patreon draw. Bloody forgot all about it. Drawing bar. Drun. Bloody that name I bloody hate, can't pronounce. Drun bar. You are the lucky winner. So I will find something to get out to you as a thank you for being a wonderful supporter of Little John. Thumbs up, everybody watching the channel. Thank you to the supporters, to the Patreons, subscribers. That's me. I'm done. I'll catch you on a video sometime in the near future where we'll be brewing beer, we might be drinking beer, or we could be talking beer. But either way, good brewing.